Hi, I'm David Bennett Cohen, and it's my great pleasure to introduce Johnnie Johnson, one of the elder statesmen of the blues, of piano music and rock and roll in general, sometimes called the father of rock and roll. Johnnie?
Thank you. Glad to be here, and glad to have this opportunity to do this on tape.
How old were you when you started playing?
Well, I started playing piano when I was at the age of 5. My parents bought a piano, and I didn't know what it was at the time, so when they put it in the house, I thought it was just a big toy, and I went to banging on it, you know. And eventually, I started getting music from it, and kept on till I was playing piano. Then my first professional job, I was 17.
Uh-huh.
And then from there on, I went in the Marine Corps in '43 and got with a bunch of musicians, some from various bands like Glenn Miller, Tommy Dorsey, Count Bass, Lyle Hampton. And we formed a group called the Barracudas because we was over in the South Pacific. And this is when I made up my mind that I wanted to be a professional musician.
Uh-huh.
And ever since then, I've been developing until I got where I am today.
Well, that's great. Along the way, you played with lots and lots of people. Of course, the most notable, maybe not the most notable, but certainly the one who influenced a lot of music was Chuck Berry.
Right. Yeah, I come up short of a musician one night, and I had Chuck's number, and I gave him a call and asked him to fill in for me that one night.
That was in your band?
Yeah.
All right.
I asked him to fill in for me that one night, and that one night lasted over 28 years that we played together. And we do something together now occasionally, but I'm out on my own now, so I'm glad to have this opportunity to kind of express myself through my fingers and people know who is what there.
That's great. You've influenced a tremendous amount of musicians, myself included, and it's really a pleasure and an honor to be sitting here with you.
Well, I've been on the road quite a few years with Chuck, and then when I started going out on my own, I've had quite a few young musicians that was following, trying to play my piano style, so this will be a big help to them.
That's great. Yeah, this will be a tremendous help. I'm going to get it myself.
Oh, no, come on.
Who else did you play with besides Chuck Berry?
I played with Albert King, I played with Chuck, I played with Buddy Guy, and a lot of local bands, and I sat in with some big bands, and then Oliver Sane out of St. Louis, and then off and on I'd had my group in between, but not as, as I'm doing now. I'm traveling with a band. Sometimes they have a pickup band where I play, give me a pickup band.
Sure.
But I have a band in St. Louis that takes with me sometime. I got a band here in New York, consisting of Jimmy Vivino and Michael Merritt and quite a few others that they could go anywhere with me.
Oh, that's great.
But they're tied up doing other things.
We also have Jimmy Vivino here, and he's going to be contributing to the to this discussion, actually.
Yeah, that's my right arm.
Yeah.
Well, I always, I don't know, I felt that the minute Michael Merritt called me to play with Johnnie, that it was a great opportunity to play with, the real thing, because up until then, I felt that we had been assimilating a lot of music. When you play with the real thing, Johnnie Johnson,
Yeah.
or at the time Mike was with Johnny Copeland, and they had met through Johnny Copeland. You have to grow or get out, It's like Johnny can look at you and if it's a good look or if it's a turn down or you're not doing the right thing kind of look, but it's always gentlemanly, but there's obviously a firm hand behind that. And it's been the most growing experience musically for me out of anything I've ever done is working with Johnny.
That's great. In the band that you had when you hired Chuck Berry, it was a trio, right?
It was a trio, right.
And what did it consist of?
It was a guitar, drums, and piano.
No bass?
No bass.
So you covered the bottom with your left hand?
Right.
Okay. And how long did when Chuck joined the band, how long did that trio last?
Well, the trio lasted for about, I think we played together about 3 or 4 weeks before Chuck went up and made this record, Maybelline.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he took the tape of the music. It was Maybelline. Then when Chester would accept it, but he had to have the band to do it live. And that's when he asked me if I would go to Chicago with him, me and Ebby Hardy, go to Chicago with him and do this recording. So naturally I went, and it was a great experience because I never did no recording before. Willie Dixon sitting on bass. He's like a studio band member, and he played the bass. And I kind of copied the sound of what he was doing in my left hand. So when we went on the road on our own, this is what I did. You know, I played the bass clef with my left hand.
So you didn't have a bass player on the road?
Very few times we had a bass player.
But Willie played on the sessions?
Oh yeah, Willie Dixon played sessions, yeah.
Okay.
He helped us out a whole lot, because as a matter of fact, he showed us and told us about a lot of things we didn't know to do to make the recording. You know.
When you were up at Chess with the really the four musicians, now correct me if I'm wrong, all in one room?
Yeah, with all in one
No
room.
headphones?
No headphones.
Just playing music
Just
in
playing
one
out
room?
naked, yeah.
You played a spinet piano, small spinet piano?
Small spinet, I think it was a New York, I'm not sure, but I think it was a New York.
And you say was mic open from the bottom? The
Right,
bottom was
mic
open and the
open
mic
from the
was...
bottom.
So they took the front panel off
Took the
on the
front
bottom and
panel
they mic'd
off,
it down
right,
there.
Right.
And so mostly probably towards the high end, which is mostly what you hear is the high end of the piano
That's
on
right.
these records.
Yeah, because you wasn't getting too much sound out of the bass.
So you're really getting
You
yourself
had
breaking
to-
through
you
by
had to
playing the
beat-
upper register.
You had to beat it almost to get the sound out of it. I didn't keep. I had no fingernails during the first 2 or 3 years of it. But
Just from pounding them off.
just from pounding them off, right?
And did you carry a piano along with you?
No,
gigs, or did they
no,
supply 'em?
I'm not sure, but most of the places that we played, I wish we had our own piano with it, because some of the places that I played, it wasn't no ivory on top of the keys, and half of the keys wasn't working, and in some instances the guitar couldn't get in tune with the piano, and had to transpose that from Chuck was in B flat or something, I had to transpose to B natural or something to try to keep up with him.
Ouch.
Yeah, and B natural is not one of my favorite keys, even till today. You know.
Was there ever a time where you'd walk into a room and there'd be like a Hammond organ instead of a piano or something, or you always got a piano?
Always had a piano.
That's good, because
Yeah,
I know
always had a
some
piano.
people have stories about there being a little electric piano there or something. Or,
Yeah, little thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I've done
always had a upright, a big piano. And when the electronic pianos started coming out, then I think I was with Albert King then, and Albert bought one for me to play. And it had reeds, it didn't have a string.
Yeah,
on it.
Wurlitzer, yeah.
Wurlitzer, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had reed, and you couldn't, by me, in the past, playing real hard, I played this Wurlitzer hard, and the reeds popping all over.
Break.
broke it,
Yeah, the reeds broke. The reeds
Yeah.
would break, and they'd also they go out of tune.
and they go cluck,
A
cluck,
little
cluck,
piece
cluck,
of
cluck.
solder on
Yeah.
there to tune them up.
So I didn't make Albert feel too good, because they had to put it back in the shop and get
Did
it
he
made.
charge you back for it? knowing Albert King?
So, but this is how I got broke into electronic piano. Then eventually I bought my own. But I was used to playing them then, so it wasn't quite as hard. Plus, you could control your volume. You could bring it up or whatever, and you couldn't be drowned out. So.
But you didn't have as much piano to play, right? You had a
No,
lot
it
less
had about
piano.
3 or 4, about 2 octaves, I think. I think it had 64 keys on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't you play something for us now, and just to give us an example of some of those ideas, like the left hand and how you covered that bottom end, and Jimmy will play along with us so you can...
Okay, give you a little touch. It's, when I was coming up, say if you couldn't play a boogie woogie, you wasn't a piano player. So.
So what were you doing in your left hand? I know you were playing two different kinds of rhythms. One was like a rhythm, and then was like a walking.
Well, this is what you call a chopping bass.
Chopping bass, okay. I always wondered what they're called.
And then this other one is a rolling bass. It might have some other name for it, but to me, I think the rolling bass,
Rolling
the chop bass would find it perfectly.
So maybe we could go over some of the things that you were doing in the right hand.
Okay.
So a lot of the riffs you were playing, you were actually keeping the root on the top,
Right,
and
right.
playing the notes underneath it.
That's
And
right.
that's a really great technique.
Well, it's just something that as my parents said, it's a gift from God, and I really can't explain it other than showing you what I'm doing with my hand.
Well, that's what we're here for. So when you were playing those left-hand rolls, right? You when you showed it to us, you went like a 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, like a that kind of thing. But when you were actually playing it, you were doing some other things. So maybe we go through some of those other ideas of that walk in the left hand, that rolling kind of. That's the chop.
Yeah. Now we go to rolling.
Okay.
Now you go to the strum.
That's great. Maybe you could play a verse, but slower, like in a slower tempo.
Okay.
All right? Okay. To get too far ahead because I want to take some of that and analyze it. Okay, the turnaround that you did, you went like from a D sharp to a D. Was that what you were doing? me play a little bit more, because you were doing some solo stuff up on top as well. It's just so beautiful.
Right.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure.
Hey.
I'm so impressed with the chords that you're playing, because sometimes, I know when I sometimes play a solo, I'll just play like single notes.
Yeah.
And it's those chord solos that really stand out. It really a signature of your style.
My stretch is, I guess, is a little abnormal or something. I don't know. But from C to C, that's 7 keys.
Right.
That's so easy. So I stretch it out and get more. You know.
Okay, so you're playing like a right.
And then that's just 3 notes, but it
Right.
sounds like a G something.
So you're kind of going down chromatically. Yeah. So you actually using your whole stretch, using your whole hand.
Right.
But for people that actually don't have that kind of span, I mean, they could actually cover the lower keys with their left hand.
Right.
Beautiful. I noticed that you sometimes will go down in thirds. You know. playing like a tenth. That's like a,
Yeah,
a
that's what I told
1,
you. That's
7,
why I
and
stay out
10.
of
Yeah, yeah.
bass players. I stay out of bass players' way doing this one.
Right. Yeah, that was a question that was actually one of the questions that I wanted to ask you. Was
Yeah.
how I know there are some bass players that really don't like it if you
The
play
one
down
that
the left
play
hand.
bass with me, they don't like it
Yeah.
either. Like
So-
that rundown we was doing.
Right.
Now that part they don't mind, but when you go into something else where they walk in the bass,
Uh-huh.
don't walk it with them. And as a matter of fact, it kills the rhythm. It kills
Yeah.
the drive.
I think you're right about that.
But I
mean,
always
there's a reason there
use,
for that.
I always use sustain.
So you just play like a simple chord in the left
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah, I got that from Basie. So listen to his records.
Uh-huh.
And that 10th down here.
All right. So that's great.
Johnny. thing about After Hours. We're talking about After Hours now because it's more than a slow blues, right? It's more than just a slow blues. It's really a song. And maybe one of the first things you learned, is that correct?
It was the first thing I learned, and it took me quite a while to learn. I tried it in all kind of keys to learn it, but I finally wound up playing it in in G.
Could you play the first chorus slowly for
okay.
people? Because it's really... Would you say that's a song that you pretty much play the same way in your mind when you play that song?
Every time I play it, it's probably the same way, note for note. I start off on D and go
Okay. Right.
B and D.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's really pretty. Stop you there a second. I want you to play what you just did.
All right.
But can we do it just see if we can get a little slower in there? Yeah.
brought it to a close then.
No, that's great. That's great. That rockabilly tune actually was pretty much a hillbilly tune. You know, the way Jimmy started it out.
Right.
And it just sort of came together as rock and roll.
Right.
And that's an interesting aspect of rock and roll because it's like a conglomeration of many different kinds of music.
Well, you playing one thing and you're hearing another one. I mean, you playing a hillbilly, but with me, you playing a hillbilly, and I can also hear the beat in the hillbilly, and the two of them just clashes together. That's all, and then you come up with the rockabilly.
Yeah.
I think the rockabilly thing really comes from hillbilly music, which is at the time came over the radio out of Nashville mostly, and Memphis, and was Merle Travis, Carl Perkins, Joe Maphis, Chet Atkins, Hank Garland, all those great country pickers. And everybody heard that, I guess. Even in the rhythm and blues players were getting into it because it was big music for them. But to show what the guitar and the piano do in that situation, which actually formed rock and roll in a way, if you think of Maybelline or something like that, for
Right.
instance. Now, if I let Johnnie keep going, see, he's playing a straight eighth in the left hand.
But it seemed like some of the things you were playing in there, Johnny, were like straight boogie woogie.
It is, except the left hand is.
Yeah,
has
the left hand
changed
is
a bit.
keeping really
Yeah.
steady.
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Your left hand is just going 1, 3, 5,
Yes,
but
yeah,
it's
1,
bump,
3, 5,
bump,
yeah.
bump up.
See, it's still swinging.
Yeah, it sure is.
And the drummer, add the drummer to that.
I try to make it as simple as possible.
On the rumba, there was a right hand figure you're playing.
I think what you're playing is like a 1 and 9.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a great part.
It's a great line.
In F, yeah.
Same thing on the full chord. you played some really extended lines in the right hand. And I wonder if we could capture some of that and maybe use it as an example to show people kind of how to get around within the keys. That was in the key of G, I believe, right? Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, that one.
It's been quite a while since I've had a group with horns, and when I come here to New York and play, sometimes Jimmy's brother would come down and sit in with me on horn. This will be the horn part.
Right. So what you would do when I noticed when you went to the C chord, the 4 chord, you were playing B flat, G, but then in the bottom of the triad you were playing a D. So it was like a C 9th chord with the 9th on the bottom.
So far it's been a pretty good career for you, right? I mean, you've been playing the piano and that's about it for how many years would you say?
Well, I'd say from 1946 up until now.
Okay.
I started playing professionally.
About 52 years. That's
Yeah.
more than half a century of playing the piano. That's pretty damn good. There's a lot of people, though, I think, for guys like me to thank. Ian Stewart, who was, when he was on his deathbed, telling Keith Richard, go get Johnnie Johnson. You know, once again, it took the Rolling Stones to show us some of our own national treasures were still here, man. I mean, how did that call come in?
Thing come up in one big magazine, like Life magazine or something like that, where Eric Clapton was fixing to do something. And in this, they was asking him who he wanted to, in this band at that time, because it was at the Royal Albert Hall.
Right.
And my name was on top of the list. He wanted me to play, and I had never met the fella, and that was a thrill too. So.
How did you feel about these guys playing blues from England? I mean, you hadn't heard them at all?
No, I hadn't heard. Well, I'd heard them, but I didn't know who I was listening to. By name, I didn't know who they were. The Rolling Stones, naturally, you know of the Rolling Stones, but it wasn't until they started filming that Hail Hail Rock and Roll that I found out who Keith was. So. But then playing the blues. I've been used to playing this gut bucket stuff so long.
I also want to mention, as we go out, our good friend George Turek, who's a really good friend. Now, he's lobbying heavily, and it seems unbelievable that there is no category in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for a Johnnie Johnson or a James Jamerson or Earl Palmer, or we can go on and on with the names of players who were so responsible for rock and roll. And when we heard the Chuck Berry records, for instance, we didn't just hear Chuck Berry. We heard Johnnie Johnson, Willie Dixon, Ebby Hardy, Freddie Belo, whoever else was playing at the time. We heard that whole band. We heard that's what made the thing happen. No one person. It was a sound. And guys like you were really responsible for so much of that. And I know that there's a website, there's petitions going around, and you can just call the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame committee and say what's up with Johnnie Johnson, or what's up with whoever you may think has to go in. Of course, we all know that Johnnie Johnson belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's time for a commercial. But write your congressman, whatever.
Whatever.
Or write your
Absolutely.
record company executive, or whoever can help get this lobbied. I think we're going to put some information on the end of the tape, how to get in touch with George Turek. I know there's a website for Johnny Johnson. And you know, we all appreciate everything you taught, the three of us, Mike and James and myself. And this is a good opportunity for everybody to examine from overhead, from the side, from whatever, to see you play. And anyone that ever asks me, I say that there's a lot of jobs I have, but there's one that's like just music with Johnny, and that's it's been a pleasure, and it's going to be a pleasure in the future.
Oh yeah, we will stick together. That's for
All
sure.
right, man.